So I'd had a spiritual path that I was on, and this really cracked me open to taking a look at some of the things that I didn't want to look at previously. And so choosing a natural path of healing meant I was sitting, I could barely crawl to the bathroom. I was in my apartment at the time and could barely crawl. I was in so much pain, but I remember finally allowing myself to feel some of the emotions that I'd been, covering up or stuffing or avoiding.
Which were what?
Well, in that moment, it was like shame because I couldn't even stand up straight, let alone get to work or do anything productive.
So you needed to ask for help.
Fear, whether I would ever move the same again, right? And even some grief from loss earlier on in life that I hadn't fully processed. And so allowed myself to feel all that. And the tears dropped, and I gained like immense clarity after that, and just set an intention while I did a meditation for receiving answers to healing naturally.
Wow. So you knew that you weren't going to go through the surgery.
I knew that was definitely a last resort. I was like very adverse to that. I didn't want to go under the knife. I just knew there was another path. So I set that intention, dropped into meditation, and literally a friend I hadn't talked to in over 2 years sent me a text while I was in meditation and said, "Hey, I heard your back's in bad shape. Check out neurokinetic therapy, NKT, the work of David Weinstock." So this took me down an amazing rabbit hole of discovering the genius NKT. It's a way of getting answers from the body through muscle testing. And so I was studying this, and I was like, wow, this is my path. I need to get in touch. And I got a hold of David Weinstock, and he put me in touch with his top student in San Diego at the time. Went and saw Christina. She, I walked in looking like Shakira stuck in a mid-hip dance move. I was a wreck. Like my hips are over to the left, my upper body's to the right. It was embarrassing.
And you knew it because as a kinesiologist.
Right.
Oh, man.
So I had some compensation patterns going on, some imbalances. And of course, the body's so intelligent. It was a representation of how out of alignment I was with my purpose at that time.
Wow.
Because I was, training 10 clients a day, running on coffee, running my health business, but then going out on the weekends and, just staying out late, partying, overindulging, to not feel the heavy emotions. And so that really cracked me open to a new path. And I remember getting on the table and Christina was testing muscle groups. She would just like have me push down with my foot to test the glutes, and nothing was firing. I was like, what do you mean my glutes aren't firing? I have huge glutes. And she's like, yep, all form, no function. And let's figure out why. And so she had me clench my jaw and retested the glutes, and all of a sudden they were back online. And I was like, interesting. So my body had showed us that the neurological traffic jam was in the jaw from the impact. We also tend to hold anger, resentment, revenge can be a neurological traffic jam. So the signal can't get to the big guns, the glutes that help stabilize the spine. So once we figured that out, she's putting rubber gloves on. And I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, I know we just met, but I'm going to have to go in your mouth. I said, what?
Gosh.
And she starts releasing my jaw, and it was so painful. But minutes later, I could just feel like the energy and the neural pathways reconnecting. And
no way, just from releasing your jaw.
Yeah.
Like inside your mouth.
Right. And
as a former dentist, I'm like super fascinated right now.
Oh, it's amazing what I discovered, because she released the jaw, and then my glutes were firing again. So those come back online because the signal could get from my brain to those muscles now instead of getting blocked at my jaw. And we did that for a couple other compensation patterns we found. And I got off the table and was standing up straight. And I was like, what? I'm 90% better.
Just from your release in your jaw.
I gave her a huge hug and said, I'm going to see you every week. I want to learn this. I'm taking all of David Weinstock's courses. And I did. Became certified as a neurokinetic therapist, and got to help other people understand their pain and how to heal naturally and provide alternatives to surgery. And so it was a huge game changer in my life.
Wow. Okay. I want to stop you there because there's so many wows in what was that moment where you were then able to feel, that you knew that, okay, your glutes were firing and that this was this pain that was stuck in your jaw.
Yeah. It helped connect the dots for me as to how everything's all interconnected. And so neurological blocks or traffic jams, now that I've done this work, a common denominator that I see a lot, especially with entrepreneurs and doers, is right side, tight side, jaw, masculine, and will often be overfiring for the intrinsic core muscles. So this is transverse abdominis. These muscles should be firing milliseconds before we do any moves to help stabilize your spine. And so if those aren't online, all it takes is picking up a pencil and they can throw out their back, right? So they come see me with low back pain and we dive into the deeper layers and do some muscle testing. And 80% of the time, this is the case. What? So it's really fascinating. And what's cool is that I test for that. And once we discover if that's the case, then I show them how to release their jaw and we turn those intrinsic core muscles back on with a bulletproof core technique that I teach, and they instantly become stronger and more stable and feel like a new person getting off the table. So it's had tremendous results.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you the other question.
Yeah.
What happens if your left side of your jaw is tight?
Yeah. So left side represents the feminine side. So this is more of Eastern philosophy, but it's all helping give us information. Where things show up in the body is all clues as to the messages that the body's trying to share with us. And so that whole experience helped me come to terms with pain and improve my relationship with that, recognizing that pain is a check engine light, just like our cars. And most people are pretty diligent when they get in their car has a check engine light. I better get it changed and, get it serviced to avoid a major breakdown. But when it comes to our bodies, how come we're not that diligent? Because a lot of times we've been trained to take a pill, numb it out with alcohol or whatever, vices to deal with the pain instead of going to the source of it. And so I see pain as pay attention inward now.
See you next time at the Brave Table.